Hello students, I wanted to cover the work for this week as we move forward in our literature review papers. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about in this video is the virtual attendance assignment. In order to do this assignment, you will first watch this video right here, which explains how the matrix or synthesis table, this video is calling it a synthesis table, I've called it a matrix, how it works to help you organize the information from the research articles that you found. So be sure and watch this 8-minute video. It's a helpful video. Next, you are going to open up this literature review sample, and I have it downloaded, so let me go ahead and pull it up and we'll take a look at it real quick together. So if we look at this sample essay, this was done by a student last year, one of my students, who came up with a research question asking about what are researchers currently involved in studying the search for life on Mars. So, and we'll talk about this abstract next week. This is for next week, so don't worry about that. You will be writing an abstract, but we'll cover that next week. So as you can see in this sample literature review, the student has an introduction wherein the student introduces the research question, the concept of why studying life on Mars is important and has been a topic of research in the past number of years. All right. So then you've got 3 sections. You've got 3 themes that the student had discovered when they were reading the 5 or 6 articles. Discovered that lots of the articles discussed research for water in terms of looking for life on Mars. Then elements and compounds, and finally microbial bacteria. Those were the 3 themes that the students saw cropping up when they read the research articles. So those became the 3 categories or themes of this literature review. So then the student uses the heading here in the center bolded, signs of water. So the student looked at the articles and said this particular set of researchers did quite a lot of discussion on water as a sign of life on Mars. All right. So then the student then summarizes all that research and then does sort of an overview about how that particular article goes back to the question on what are researchers doing when studying about life on Mars. Then the student moved to the second theme, which was elements and compounds. Now this student discovered that 2 of their articles addressed the elements and compounds as a hallmark of life on Mars. So the student spends a paragraph summarizing the first article by Clark et al., and then spends a paragraph summarizing Wormald's article and spends a whole paragraph discussing that article. And then at the very end, and this is important to note, the 3rd paragraph is the synthesis paragraph. This 3rd synthesis paragraph is where the student discusses the combination of how both Clark et al. And Wormald et al. Focus on elements and compounds. How are they alike? How are they different? Then the student addresses the 3rd section, and in this 3rd section of microbial bacteria, the student discovers, again, like with elements and compounds, there were 2 articles that did research into microbial bacteria as evidence for life on Mars. Okay, so then same thing. This paragraph covers a summary of Kerr and Lawler's article, and then Iverson et al.'s article. Includes a table. We'll talk about that next week. And then the final paragraph synthesizes how is Iverson et al. and Kerr and Lawler's articles, how are they the same and how are they different? And then the student goes back and pulls back information from Nazari, Sharabian et al. So synthesizing how this researcher's information is relevant to the discussion of microbial bacteria in terms of studying life on Mars. Then finally, the student, in the conclusion, the student points to what could be done in the future. So has summed up the work of research in the past and now says, all right, we know these three things. Research has been done in these three areas. What could be the focus of future research? And as you can see, the student says, in the future, scientists should work towards researching ways to colonize Mars. So, the conclusion for your literature review is going to point to future research. Where are the gaps? What's still missing? All right, and then of course here are the students' references. All right, so what you'll do after you read that paper carefully is you will take the matrix worksheet and you're going to write those three concepts in the conclusion, and you're going to write a little summary of how the student discussed each one of these concepts. Where did they appear in the paper? This will give you a really nice, clear overview of how this student sorted out all that information from these 5 sources and came up with these 3 concepts and the conclusion. That is your homework, your virtual attendance assignment. Now, for the second half of the week, you're going to be working to writing summaries and doing a matrix for your own research question with your own 6 articles, and that will be due Friday, April 5th. You can see, come to your module 2. More information is here with your worksheet. And again, why will this benefit you? Why am I asking you to do this? The summaries of these articles will be plugged in to your annotated bibliography, which is due on Sunday. All right? The summaries of the articles will also be really useful as you draft your literature review papers. Once you read this sample essay, you'll see how the student summarized that article. So this work you're doing that's due Friday, you will use it both in your annotated bibliography and then again in your literature review paper. The matrix is going to help you identify your 3 themes that you are going to use as sections to organize and synthesize your 6 articles in the same way that this sample paper, let's go back to it, this sample paper did the same thing. Here are the 3 themes. Here are the 3 sections of the paper. The student said, which researchers talked about signs of water? Which researchers talked about elements and compounds? And which researchers talked about microbial bacteria when studying the research question of life on Mars? All right? So, in a nutshell, you're going to do a sample, reading a sample paper. Then you're going to turn around and do that for your own research topic, due on Friday. And then finally, on Sunday, you will have your full annotated bibliography due. This is done exactly like your literary analysis bibliography. I include a sample here. You'll have all 6 articles, okay? And it's going to look very, very similar to the annotated bibliography that you did for your literary analysis. You'll have your research question here instead of your thesis statement. Then you're going to include your 6 articles alphabetized. You'll start with the APA citation, the summary, which you will have done by Friday, so plug that in. You will evaluate how are these sources credible. You will reflect which section of your literary or your literature review will cover this, and then you'll continue on. All right. So if you want more information on any of this, read through the announcement. I have a mini lesson on annotated bibliographies, my expectation. And again, just read through this announcement and get to work on that sample essay, because that should help you understand what we're doing with this literature review. All right.